Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast.
Each episode, we invite extraordinary guests who are masters of their craft. They're innovators, entrepreneurs, and of course, motorcycle enthusiasts who have made their mark in the world.
They share their stories, insights, and hard-earned wisdom, giving you a front row seat to the strategies and experiences that shape their successes.
So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for an exhilarating ride as we dive deep into the minds of these exceptional individuals.
Along the way, we'll uncover powerful strategies, gain fresh perspectives, and explore the limitless possibilities of what it takes to be an American mastermind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Topher, Scheeler. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Adams.
What up, what up?
We got Al cleaned up on the soundboard. Love to see his hand. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special evening for you planned here this evening. But please, right now, please like, share, subscribe. This video needs to go out, and it needs to reach as many people as possible. We have a very, very special guest with us here this evening. We have Ted Goulet and Chet Fullmer of the Fullmer Boxing Gym. I'm very excited. You guys are in for a treat tonight. We've got one heck of a story, and can't wait to jump into it.
Man, I'm so glad you guys were able to make it in tonight. I know this has been a long time coming. I know Chet from the gym. He's one of the regulars. He's one of the guys that's there every morning. He's like a piece of the equipment. Like if you walk in, one of the treadmills is missing. It's the same as when Chet's not. He went to Mexico this last week, and I almost just stayed home. Just wasn't even worth it. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, you can't tell that I'm a regular.
Not true. And his wife, Kim, she is focused. Like she's one of those people. I admire someone that you see at the gym that is just like, that she's like plotting on the next machine. She's doing her thing, but she's got the next two machines lined up. She's ready to go. She's not the one that's wandering around being like, well, what should I do next? She's just like,
she's the same way at home.
Is she?
Oh, yeah.
She's organized. And she's got to go on. And of course, I'm meeting Ted. Good to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
Chet said some really great things about you. And one of the things that he said, because your organization, we're going to talk about a little bit. What's the name of the organization?
So our gym is the Fullmer Brothers Boxing Gym.
Fullmer Brothers. And folks, if you haven't been paying attention to sports in the past, I don't know, 50 years, 60 years. The Fullmer legacy is a real thing. Like I knew the name before I knew Chet. I knew who these guys were.
Really? Well,
because we'll get right into that. But Ted, he said to me that you were a part of the organization and that you volunteer hours every night. Like you're there all the time. We're going to get into that. Like why is it so important for you to be a big part of it? So we're going to talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about the Fullmer legacy. Like there's three brothers. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So my dad was Jay. Everybody probably has heard Gene Fullmer. So there were three brothers, Gene, Don, and Jay. Gene won the world middleweight championship in 1957. He beat Sugar Ray Robinson, who is probably considered, in the history of boxing, probably the best pound-for-pound boxer.
One of the best.
He's who
in the world.
Sugar Ray Leonard was named after.
Right,
who
right.
He got his name from and whatnot. And then he won it again in 1961 and held it till 1963.
A champion.
World champion. And back then, going back a little bit, boxing was different back then. Back then it was boxing and baseball.
Yeah.
Every Friday night, you had Friday night. This is before my time. I don't remember this, but I've seen enough of it. You had Goulet Friday night fights. And Uncle Gene they all had, big fights. Uncle Gene fought world champions right here in Salt Lake. I mean, you think, it's kind of weird to think of now, but I mean, there were world championship fights at the old Dirks Field, West Jordan Park.
Wow.
My Uncle Don fought for the middleweight world championship in Italy. He lost a close decision to Nino Benvenuti, or we would have had two middleweight world champions out of the three brothers. My dad, Jay, was moving along and had a pretty severe eye injury and had a choice of continuing and possibly losing his eyesight or retiring. And he made the right choice and opted, but he was moving up the ranks, had about 28 fights at the time. And,
wow.
So that's
who they
a
tough decision. Can you imagine?
It was
continue moving forward and go blind, doing what you love, or.
But correct me wrong, he had 161 amateur fights, almost 200 amateur fights, a lot.
Yeah, he lost his very last amateur fight. Was the only fight that he lost, and that's when he kind of decided, if I'm going to lose, I might as well get paid for it. And so he went pro. But they all fought under.
It's fun until
yeah,
right up until then.
Yeah, but they all fought under Marv Jensen. So if those that are old enough to remember that name, Marv Jensen was an old county commissioner here in Utah, in Salt Lake. Was involved in a bunch of different stuff, but he had a little boxing gym down in West Jordan on Redwood Road. And my uncle Gene at about 12 saw that and asked my grandpa, whose name ironically was Tough. Uncle Gene was actually named after the world champion Gene Tooney. So Gene Tooney and Jack Dempsey fought.
Yeah.
My grandparents, his parents, wanted a boxer, and they decided they'd name their first son whoever won that fight. Gene Tooney won that fight. They named Gene. Otherwise, it would have been Jack Fullmer. So it's just kind of a funny story. I mean, he was kind of destined
to be a boxer,
to be there. So he asked my uncle, "Hey, I see this guy's running this gym. Can we go down there?" And so he got involved with it, and Marv ran it. Didn't charge any of the kids, and then the two younger brothers, my dad and my uncle Don, just kind of followed suit. And they had rules down there they had to follow, and if they followed it, they got a West Jordan sweater. And the rules were pretty simple. There's no drinking, there's no smoking, there's no
drugs.
No drugs. You respect your parents, you do what you're told, and if you don't, we take that sweater away.
Wow.
And they kept their sweater, but there was a lot of great fighters that came out of that gym. I mean, you had some world class guys. You had, Rex Lane is another old name from around here. Lamar Clark was a heavyweight who still holds to this day the Guinness Book of World Record for most consecutive knockouts, I believe at 45. And then that streak broke when he fought Muhammad Ali in I think it was Muhammad Ali's second fight, and knocked him out. So that's who the Fullmers were. They were the three brothers, Gene, Don, Jay. They actually had a sister, my Aunt Colleen.
I bet she could throw too.
So she was a tiny little thing, and she was probably the toughest. She had
of the bunch.
She had multiple sclerosis for over 50 years.
Oh man!
The majority of my life, I just remember in a wheelchair. But my dad used to tell stories that whenever they got out of hand, my grandpa would throw the gloves on my aunt, and he said she was like a windmill in a hurricane. He said she just
little Wolverine,
just tear into them.
That's so good.
So yeah, they were just old school, classic. They worked in the beet fields in West Jordan, South Jordan. That's where they lived. It was right there on the border of West Jordan, South Jordan.
The sugar beets.
Yeah, they top beets and thin beets. And then they worked at Kennecott. Uncle Gene worked at Kennecott as a welder until he won the world championship.
No kidding.
Until he retired.
Huh?
Dad worked there for 30 years. Uncle Don worked as a fireman and a brick mason. And so they were all just
regular guys,
working class,
regular
schmo guys that you would not have any idea. I mean, it was when Uncle Gene won the world championship, everybody, who's this? Where's this little podunk town, West Jordan, Utah? You know, they were all LDS, and so he was kind of nicknamed the Mormon Mauler, or the Mormon. I think it was the Mormon Meteor. Anyway, and so. Yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere. You know, you're fighting these Sugar Ray Robinsons from New York, but he's fighting world class. And back then, boxing wasn't like it is today. You didn't have 14 divisions in one weight division. You had one world champion in each weight division. And so when you were the world champion, you were the world champion.
You were the guy.
You were the guy.
You were the guy.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't like it is today.
So, Chet, what was it like growing up in a house, in a family of champions?
You know, as a kid, I didn't get it as much. I mean, we did it. We did boxing just because it was, you were out on the front lawn from the time you were 3 years old, punching them in the face or in the stomach, and if you dropped your hand, you got a cuff upside the head or something to keep your hands up. But you didn't really get it until I got a little older. And then when I started getting more involved in, going and refereeing and judging, and you'd go to tournaments, and Uncle Gene's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota. In fact, all three of the brothers have their fists cast in Canastota in the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Wow.
But you go to that, and it wasn't until I probably went. I mean, I got that they were big, but it was kind of a local thing. I mean, they always got introduced at things and stood up and waved their hand. But then you go back to something like that, and you got guys from all over the world that are lined up for 200 feet, and they all got pictures of your dad and your uncles that you've never seen before in your life, and you grew up in that family looking at things.
Change your perspective.
And you realize these guys were not just local heroes, these guys were across the world.
Wow.
Type of heroes to guys. And so that kind of brought a bigger...
Matter of fact, there were only 3 brothers that went to the
Madison Square Garden. So Dad's pro debut was in Madison Square Garden. So Dad fought, I think, 3 times in Madison Square Garden. I think Uncle Gene, I don't have the exact numbers, he fought 5 or 6 times. And Uncle Don, I think, fought 7 or 8, 9 times. I mean, between the 3 of them, I think they fought about 15, 16 fights in Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And that's back in the real garden.
Yeah. The real garden.
The real garden.
Oh man, amazing. So here you are growing up in this family, and now you have this perspective shift where you're like, whoa, man, this isn't just my pops. This isn't just Uncle Gene. This is this is a big deal.
Yeah, because you didn't realize, like I said, Uncle Gene, once he retired, he invested his money pretty well, and they didn't make anywhere near what they make today. But he ran a mink farm. So we had a mink farm up behind my grandparents' place. We all lived right within 300 feet of each other.
Oh, wow.
All of them. My grandparents had their house, and they gave each one of them a 1/3 acre of land, and they all built their homes on that. And then he put a mink shed in there, and he raised beef, and he raised pigs. And I mean, yeah, if you saw him, he'd be in his boots out there irrigating, and you wouldn't think about him.
He opened
there's a world-class
restaurant, a couple of restaurants.
He had a Gene Fullmer celebrity restaurant where the old Midville Mining Cafe is right now.
Up at 72, that says.
Yeah.
We eat there
good
regularly.
Scones.
Yeah,
good
scones.
scones.
That's one of where we start a lot of our motorcycle rides from.
Matter of fact, we have a picture of it in our gym hanging up where he has the ribbon cutting. He has a few movie stars there with him. And all
yeah,
stuff.
I remember. I was little when they did that, but it was like Ray Nitschke was there from the Green Bay Packers, and and the menu items were all boxing. The drink was like the Big Punch, and you got a glass that said Big Punch or something on it like that. The left hook or stuff like that.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, so here we are now. We've got this legacy, quite a legacy. So a family that you can be like, yeah, those are mine over there, and you decide that you want to carry the legacy on by continuing the gym. What was that decision like? Like, why were you?
So when they all retired, I remember we'd have kids down in the basement. We'd have them out in the backyard. They'd be in the garage. They'd want to learn how to fight. And so Dad would have them over, or Uncle Don would have them over. And I hated it sometimes because Dad would bring over kids, and some of those kids would be pretty tough. And he'd say, hey, I need somebody to spar in here with them. And there's sometimes I'd be running off in the corn to hide because I didn't want to get punched. So they did that for a long time until they kind of decided, hey, why don't we do what Marv did and kind of start our own gym and call it Fullmer Brothers Boxing Gym. And we'll do it the same way. We're not going to charge. They were never charged anything by Marv. And so they kind of decided we're going to set it up the same way, and we're going to have similar rules. And so we started out down in Riverton, and then obviously because we don't charge, we're needing the building donated from people. And so eventually that building, they need it for something else, and then we're looking for something else. And then we moved to West Jordan for a little bit, right there where the City Hall is. There was an old church that we were able to use. And then we got moved to the sugar factory for a little bit. And then we got moved to the fire station on 1300 West and 7800 South. And then they needed that one. Our current location, I think we've been there about 12 years.
Going on 14 years
now.
Okay.
It's down at the Equestrian Park, and it's the old Sheriff's Posse building. It's just a little
cinder block building right there.
Yeah, it's a little cinder block building. What is it, 800 square feet?
On a good day.
Yeah. But if you walk in there any night, you got 30 to 35 kids jam-packed in there. So that's how they kind of started it. And then when they've all, Uncle Don passed away in 2012. Dad passed away in 2015. On the day we buried my dad, Jay, Uncle Gene passed away.
Oh no!
And so when they were all gone, we were all involved up to that point anyway, I mean, we'd been going and helping referee and helping at the gym and involved with the Golden Gloves. And our Fullmer Brothers Boxing Gym is it's the only gym in the state of Utah that's directly affiliated with the Golden Gloves. And so when they were all gone, it was kind of, we can't let this just die. We can't let the legacy go. And so, but we weren't sure exactly what we were going to do. Everybody's got full-time jobs, and you know, they were retired when they did it, so they could spend a little more time. And then we had guys like Ted here next to me that had his son down there working with my dad and had been fighting, and he was down there every night with his son. And I mean, he can probably speak to it a little bit, but Ted was like, hey, I need to keep this going. And so, you know, us on the backside kind of took over I mean, Ted's on the board too, but we kind of are on the backside of things, helping to fundraise and come up with different ways that we can keep the gym going. And Ted does an amazing job at doing the same thing. But Ted, on top of that, like you were saying, Ted spends, I mean, incalculable number of hours down there every night. He's got a full-time job as well. So the gym's only open from like 6 to 8:30 something every night, Monday through Thursday, because everybody's got jobs. But Ted's down there every night.
How come, Ted? Why are you there? What are you doing?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory here. My boy was in 5th grade. He was getting picked on quite a bit, and I wanted to find something for him to kind of defend himself. So I went to these karate studios, and that was nowadays like ballet.
Yeah.
It was nothing that was, you know, that
It's going to help him.
Yeah, and the MMA was a little too rough. So I was driving by this little, I live in Riverton, you know, just driving by this little gym, and I seen this white building there. I pulled in, and I see a little old man in there just hitting the bag, moving around, not much going on, and all of a sudden I just hit it off. Next thing you know, Jay grabbed me, took me on his wing, mentored me, and fell in love with him, fell in love with the gym. My son prospered, you know, he's still part of it. He's 21 years old now. He's gotten titles. He's 13 years old. He took the Junior Olympic bronze, and at 18, we took him to Golden Glove Nationals. He wasn't even ready to go. I think that weight division dropped out, so we pulled him in 2 weeks before we needed somebody, and he ended up taking the elite bronze on that too. So you know, he helps me at the gym, helped coach. I got a great coaching staff. Joey Hubley, I love that guy. Jesse, Tony, all those guys are all volunteers. They all have regular jobs. They come in and do the massive sacrifices. But you know, Chet's being very humble. They behind the scenes is a lot of work. It's a big thing. I have the luxury of when we travel, not only with the Golden Gloves, without the Golden Gloves, on national level, I'm allowed to take a team, airfare, food, hotels, all paid for. These kids don't have to pay for anything. Parents don't need to worry about anything, and I just want to keep that going. It helps the kids. I had a young man that was. Didn't like to be touched, didn't want to be touched. He had some kind of disease, I can't remember what it was, anyway, the parents were concerned about it. Well, in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, I was touching the young man, showing him how to do a jab, and parents were just in tears. He's no longer there. I don't know where they went, but stuff like that. We had kids that come in that a police officer comes in from Riverton, schools that brings kids in, and it's something like that I really fell in love with. I have kids that from our gym that's had such hard lives, then turn around now they have their own businesses. They have I got a young man that's our state champion that he's 18 years old. just won state championship, and we call him Six. The reason why I call him Six, he is on time at 6 o'clock.
He's there.
He's there, so we call him Six.
So these are at-risk kids we're talking about. A lot of them.
Half our gym's at risk.
At risk, and these kids are coming in. And how much is it cost to get the training?
It doesn't cost them a dime. It does cost with USA Boxing. They need to have insurance at like $70 a year, and that's if they get hurt in the gym.
They're covered.
They're covered.
What about the gear? Where they get all the?
We have gear at the gym that we can give them. The kids who can't afford it, we give it to them. I just went and spent $4,000 in equipment and what have you, and gave most of it away to kids that couldn't afford it.
Wow. So the gear, the time, the facility.
Yeah,
when we're it's all handled.
Yeah, when we're not even working, on Fridays and Saturdays, we're usually at fights. So during the week we're training, and the weekends we're at fights or traveling to fight or what have you. So, when we're not, we do take a special kid sometimes, and we'll come in on a Saturday and work with them, what have you. And it's just my coaching staff, myself, I couldn't do without them. So.
And I just want to throw in a distinction.
I had you. I got you, brother.
You got me. Thanks, buddy. I've been hit a couple times too. But our gym is an amateur gym. So we pretty much deal with, we've had kids turn pro out of our gym that have decided to go pro. But it's amateur boxing. And so, amateur boxing, there's a whole long story I won't get into. but it's all governed by USA Boxing, which is then governed by the International Boxing Federation, the Olympic level and that type of stuff. But we fall under that. Golden Gloves is its own franchise as well. And so our Rocky Mountain franchise, which is what really the Fullmer Brothers Gym runs, the Rocky Mountain Golden Gloves. Everybody that's on the Rocky Mountain Golden Gloves board are members of the Fullmer Brothers Gym, and most of them are Fullmers. There's a few. We consider him a Fullmer anyway. So
you're in, buddy.
I'm in.
Yeah.
But that covers Utah, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. So those 4 states. So every year we hold a state championship. Idaho will hold a state championship, Wyoming, Montana. And then each of those state championships, and this is for male and female, when those championships are done in the state, then we bring them all in and we have a regional championship. And the champions from each of the 4 states go against each other. And then those winners for there's 10 weight divisions in the male and then the female. Those make up our Rocky Mountain team. And then we take that team back to the national tournament. And that's somewhere different every year. We're in Detroit in May for that. And
so when's the state?
Typically
bouts?
It's in March.
And
typically
then
it's in March.
Regional's
in April.
April.
And then usually the nationals or wherever they're at. This next year coming up, it's in Tulsa. The next 2 years it's in Tulsa. But this last year in Detroit, one of the girls from our Fullmer Brothers Gym took the silver at the National Golden Gloves. She was a runner-up at the National Golden Gloves.
Chelsea Davis.
And then,
go Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then Kendra Samargas from Idaho.
She took it all the way.
She took it all the way, and she won the actual championship, the national championship from Idaho. So she was part of our Rocky Mountain team.
Very cool.
And
Idaho puts out some fighters, or is that?
There's just not a lot of. It's kind of not typical because we're a smaller franchise. When you go to, our state championship is a 2-night event. Our regional championship's a 2-night event. You go back to New York,
Texas,
Pennsylvania, Texas, New Jersey, California. Their state tournaments are 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Because they've got that many boxers.
Holy cow.
They're fighting every week. Where our kids don't get, they might get one a month, somewhere there's a club that's holding a bout somewhere. So to have somebody win at that level,
and
then, we were talking.
Has to be talented.
We were talking before. Alyssa Mendoza from Idaho, she was part of our Rocky Mountain team. We took back to the Nationals 2 years ago in Tulsa. She's fighting in Paris this week on the Olympic team.
No kidding.
Yeah, she
qualified. Good luck, Mrs. Mendoza.
She qualified for the Olympic team, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, like I said, when you consider the experience that a lot of these kids are getting from other states and other regions of the country, to have somebody in
Idaho,
this small of a market is,
you have to be
is
really
pretty impressive.
talented. That's amazing. So let's talk about, I imagine when you're like 6 or one of these people that are coming into the gym, like you probably have rules too. I mean, you're not probably taking sweaters away from people, but
we do.
What are the basics?
It's the same rules. The parents come in and we tell them that in order to belong here, they do need to be a part of USA Boxing, which is their insurance, and it covers them. We do tell the kids that there's no smoking, no drinking, no swearing. In order to come here, we tell them if they're a C student, we want them to be a C+ student. Work with their parents with their grades. The parents would come in and say, listen, I'm having trouble with my son. As a matter of fact, we made one young man captain of the team to kind of get him up a little bit, and he had some trouble in school, and we said, well, we're going to take your rights away from you if you don't, and
straighten out.
He straightened up real quick.
Yeah.
So we work very closely with the parents as well, and a lot of counseling one-on-one. We're by far not counselors, but we don't have classes. We are all it's
a lay clergy.
Yeah. So I'll take some kids and tell them, listen, this is how you do a jab. I want this jab. I want 100 jabs or 900 jabs tonight. This is how you do it. I'm going to go work with this kid. This is all self-disciplined. If you do not be self-disciplined, it's going to show in the ring, and no one's to blame but you. Not me, not nobody else, but you. Mm-hmm. And these kids take that to heart and think, "But this is me. I'm going to get in that ring. Everybody's going to stare at me, and I didn't throw my jab right. I got to hit that bag 900 times."
Oh, that's amazing. I heard a quote this week that the fights are won in the gym.
That's right.
And you pick up the awards at the meet.
You're absolutely correct.
I liked that. I'm a big believer in the perfect practice, doing it right and over.
That's right.
When you're having these kids come in and jump in anytime you want here, buddy. What? When you have these kids come in, I've been thinking about this podcast for a second because I talked to Chet at the gym and he tells me some of the stories and I just think, wow, the ripple effect, I guess, is where I'm going with this question. The ripple effect of what you guys are doing, what your dad did and the uncles did, and how it's affected your life, and now it's affected your son's life. I think about these ripple effects going out into the world infinitely, right? You never know. And if you're dealing with high-risk kids, I think you were telling me that you had a gentleman that was he was part of in the juvenile criminal justice
Milo, yeah,
system. And can we talk about that story?
Sure. Yeah, we've had a number of those. I mean, probably too many to count that have come through there. Because, like you said, most of these kids are at risk. They come from bad home lives. Going back years, we had a young kid, Roberto Tamayo. His dad killed his mother and then committed suicide in the home.
Jeez.
Young. I mean, he's 13, 14 years old.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
tough for a young kid to have to process. And the only thing that he said kept him moving forward in life was the gym. He knew he went there. He knew that my dad, my uncle Don, my uncle loved him and would be there.
Dang.
And there's, like I said, there's numerous stories that I remember. Just shortly after my dad passed away, I had a guy reach out to me and said, "You don't know who I am." He said, "I'm a police officer." He said, "The other night I was off duty and I heard a call come in of a ruckus that was just down the street. I showed up." He said, "And the kid that was involved in the ruckus," he said, "I'd been to some of the amateur fights and I saw him fight for your gym." He said, "And it was about to turn ugly with some of the police officers." He said, "And I just kind of got up next to him and I said, 'What do you think Jay Fullmer would think of you right now?'"
He invoked the name.
He said the kid stopped what he was doing and literally broke down and wept like a baby. And he said, "So when you're not sure what you guys are doing or what your dad did and your uncles did," he said, there was one guy whose life was dramatically changed that night because it could have turned really ugly really quick." And I mean, we've had a number of kids that have come through that have that have been in juvenile detention. And
so is it because of the structure? Is it because of the...
I believe so, because sometimes the parents don't, single moms would come in, or, they don't have a father figure. They'll come in and obviously it's a male, controlled situation here. And the police officers would bring the kids in with their broken homes or what have you, or and some kids they come with mom and dad both, and the kids just are a little unruly or some guidance. And it's like Milo, for instance. This young man came in and he was probably 16, 17 years old, and now he has 3 kids, married, has his own little boxing gym in Draper, Utah, and is doing really, really well. We're really proud of him. We've had some successful women.
And Ted is definitely being humble. Ted is probably, he's a father figure to a lot of these kids. I've talked to some of the kids down there, and I've seen the way they interact with Ted. They listen to him.
Respect.
Because they respect him, and they love him.
Powerful.
Because they know he loves them. And that's a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
When a kid doesn't have that at home, and he's not getting that love and that discipline, now he's got somebody that knows it. Why does this guy care about me? What does he care what I do? But he sees that he does, and it's not just by word, it's by example. He can see it and he can feel it. It makes a world of difference in their lives.
Well, I would imagine that just the ability to punch something.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
That
That's
doesn't
the
hurt.
first domino that goes through. But then is there kind of a break-in period when these kids come? Like you got to break them down a little bit, show them what the structure is like and all of that? Yeah,
they come in. Some kids come in a little timid, not knowing what to do. And what's nice about our gym, the other kids will see it, and it's not like your guys' gym where people walk around and they're all these big buff dudes and they're thinking, hey, look at me. Our gym is not like. We're very humble. All the kids are humble. Even the other boxers will grab the other kids that are very shy, whatever. Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. So it's a big club, big family. The minute you walk,
it's a family gym
door,
still.
That's it. Still a family gym.
Well, there's something to be said about martial arts in general, like the discipline, and then the you kind of learn that there's always somebody bigger and stronger out there, and it does kind of humble you in an aspect. And then you learn you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and the learning process starts.
That's right. Matter of fact, it was last year, was St. George. We usually go every year to St. George, and we had a young man that didn't listen to the corner. He won. We weren't very happy that he won, didn't listen to us, and said, you were very lucky you won. At the same night, we had a young man that lost. We praised him more than we praised the guy that won.
Because he listened.
Because he listened.
Interesting.
So
some life lessons going on.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Well, guys, I love the story. I love the influence that you're having in the community. It is infinitely more than you'll ever know. That's kind of how I feel when I see these organizations out there going the extra mile. And you guys don't have any paid staff. You don't have. No. You're just a whole volunteer group, and you have the board, and then you have all the people that are just your regular warriors that are showing up. And right. Is that right?
Yep.
And so 100% of a donation would go to the bottom line.
100%. Yeah. So like I was saying before, we kind of got kicked from building to building, and we're in the building we're in now. But a while back, so my cousin Larry Fullmer, my Uncle Don's oldest boy, is the president of our Rocky Mountain Golden Gloves. And he's really been a spearhead, doing this. He's got a lot of great contacts. And so, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, kind of the idea.
2016. Actually, I went to Jay before this and said, why don't we get a new gym? Why not? And Jay said, oh, that's never going to happen. Well, unfortunately, when they passed, and then that's when Nick Butterfield and I were talking. He was the coach after he stepped in and mentored the kids as well. We were talking at the Nationals here in 2016. And so his brother, David Butterfield, he's president of the bank or something like that. So we went and talked to him, and I drew up some paper, what kind of our dream was, what have you. And then we got a hold of Larry and talked to Larry, and wow, did it happen? I mean, it lit the fire on everybody, and it was
just kind of a pipe dream to start, right? It's like, can we get our own place? Because it'd be nice to not worry about, this place we're at. The county's been awesome. They've donated the building to us. I think we pay $1 a year something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
the bill now is got it for 50 years for $1 a year.
So
Really?
That's a pretty solid lease.
yeah. So the county,
Yeah.
the county and South Jordan City did some working and some land swapping, and right now we're down South Jordan Park. They gave us a 50-year lease at $1 a year.
Crazy.
And
That's so cool.
like I said, it all started out as a pipe dream, and then we started reaching out to some different foundations for grants, and we reached out to the state of Utah, and Greg Hughes, who was the ex-speaker of the House,
He sits on board.
he's on our board. He's super involved and super supportive of boxing and the Fullmer Brothers. You know, he did a lot of work with the Utah legislature to get us an appropriation from the state, and we started getting some money coming in to put a new building, and then it was kind of okay, we don't have a choice now.
What have we done?
We've got it's exactly kind of that.
We're getting what we want.
It's,
oh no!
Yeah, careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
So the building, we did groundbreaking last November.
It's going to be done. We're pushing for December.
For December, it's 16,500 square foot building.
That's a little bigger than your space now.
A lot bigger.
A lot better.
Two stories. It has a running track on top.
A study room for kids for school.
Has a little little computer study room for kids to do homework. There'll be 2 rings in there. We'll be able to hold our own events. So when we hold our state event, we've been holding them at the Utah State Fairgrounds.
Oh,
And you got to rent that venue.
not cheap.
Not cheap at all. You're looking at about $6,000 for a weekend.
Yeah.
And when you're nonprofit and you're not charging anybody anything, that
big
cuts
scratch.
into your overhead,
Sure.
right? So we'll be able to seat 500 people in this building. So we'll be able to hold our own tournaments
So amazing.
there.
So cool.
There'll be a Hall of Fame room that will have
A museum.
a museum that will have a little history of the 3 Fullmer brothers and kind of where it
The
started.
belt.
And
Gene's belt.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's, like I said, that's going. And so, you know, we're still looking for some funds because we're a little shy right now on footing the rest of the bill.
So you really are humble. You really do. I'm just going to say it. I'm okay to say this, but a building like that costs millions of dollars. It's not a cheap venture to put
Right.
together a 2-story building that's that size, commercial grade, electric, air conditioning, all the things, right?
Right.
And so we're talking millions of dollars. And so when you say you're a little short, we could be talking about $1 million+
$2 million.
Two. We're 2.
A little short.
A little short.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're looking at a $7 million building,
2
it's
seems
nice
like
to
you're
have
close.
5, right?
Yeah.
It's two seems.
So it's
closer.
not humble. It's you're an optimist.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
cup is almost full.
That's right.
You
I
know,
always think that.
We've got our irons in the fire in some different places. You know, still trying to get foundations to donate, and you know, and we've had some awesome foundations. You know, the Collard Foundation made a big donation. Like I said, the state of Utah made a big one. The Eccles Foundation has donated, and so we're still, like I said, we're still out there. We have a credit line to be able to finish the building and have it done, but then you're looking at
It's expensive money.
a $2 million loan that you're having to pay every month
Yeah.
when you're not charging anything. So the building will be called the Fullmer Legacy Center.
Okay.
It'll kind of be more of a community center.
Okay.
But our boxing gym will be housed there. So, you know, from
That'll be free.
6 to 9 every night, it will be free just like it is now for the boxers. But there'll be other programs going on that will
Help pay the
Well,
bills.
hopefully
be
they
able to-
find
yeah.
a way to use the space, you know, in
Right.
the morning
Yep.
and the afternoon.
Yeah, we have a
before you guys
director
get
that
there.
we have a director
Yep.
that's going to trying to oversee
Exactly.
that, trying to rent it during the day
Sure.
to fitness people or for
people
whoever.
that are a lot smarter than us.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing I love about this story. There's actually a lot of things I love about this story. When you have I'm stealing a term from a local organization, but if you have a righteous desire that you're putting out there, like what you're doing is infinitely helping the community and these young people, these young men and women, and you put it out to the universe that this is what we want to do, then the doors start to open. You could call it a miracle. You can call it whatever you want, but the fact is that when you're doing something amazing, you just kind of got to get out of the way because the right people will show up at the right time. Is that true?
You build it, they'll come. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the truth. But the dare to dream it is the important part. Is like that's what I'm hearing you say is like, well, I mean, Is that even a possibility?
Well, we were all worried about trying to get the money first. And I told Larry, Larry, let's just start building it. And I guarantee you people are going to start saying, hey, it's something's happening. We've already got some of the money.
Yeah.
Let's get it going. We have a great contractor that's helping, that's willing to, to help us. But we said, let's just start building. Next thing you know, people are hey, they can see something.
Yeah, what are you doing over there? What's going on?
Yeah, we want to be a part of that.
Yeah, so we've got a website for it, which is fulmerlegacy.org.
And that'll be in the notes, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to go to the website and check out, see what they're doing, you can donate there.
You can donate there. You can see the background of what the Fullmers, my dad and uncles did, and there's some pictures of the existing location, and then some artwork of the new building, what it's going to be, and what's going to go on there. And then there's donation there as well at that fulmerlegacy.org site. Yeah, it's we're kind of twofold, because right now we've got
200 kids.
Yeah. So we've had 200 kids register for the years, for this year.
Our gym's been last year we were in the top 10.
We were the top 2. We were number 2 gym in the country for the number of kids registering.
Amazing.
Yeah. What?
And this is all, no one's paying.
No one's paying.
No.
Even some kids that can't afford the registration, they don't need to pay. We'll take care of it for them.
This is
insane.
It's amazing, right?
It is.
I told you this was amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Second in the country.
Second in the country.
Yeah. They released the stats out. USA Boxing put the stats out at the beginning of this year for the number of registrations last year, and Fullmer Brothers Boxing Gym out of South Jordan, Utah, was number 2 in the country for the number of kids that registered for the year.
Well, I can't imagine 200 kids. That's a lot.
It's a lot for
boxing.
800 square feet.
800 square feet.
Yeah, and they don't all stay. Some of them get there and they might stay a month and
This isn't for me.
decide this isn't for me. I don't like getting punched. And
we're working outside. I got kids. We're got classes outside in the dirt. It's a horse place, so we're spread out.
Yeah, if you go down 2200 West by the Equestrian Park, you'll see kids at night jogging down to 114th South up and down the road. That's where they're getting their road work in.
I mean, get this. This has no air conditioning. This has no air conditioning. Yeah, none.
Yeah, that thing
Your
is,
space over there right now.
it's a hot, stinky, sweaty boxing gym.
That's it.
Awesome.
That's what it is.
It's what it is.
An old Rocky gym.
When people say, hey, we'd like to bring our kids down there, I always tell them, I'm like, okay, this isn't a Vasa.
Yeah.
This isn't the EOS. This is
there's no towel machine.
This is a full on, and it's pretty cool if you go in there. We have my uncles and my dad's, all their memorabilia, their fight posters are plastered all over the wall, and from back in the day, and so it's like I said, it's a boxing gym when you walk in there.
It's a cool space.
Smell it.
You can smell it, and we do tell the parents. I do tell the parents that listen, this isn't a workout gym. We're teaching your kids to hurt kids.
Yeah.
You're going to be punched in the face and get bloody noses. This is not, you want a great program. Legends has a great program to work out and what have you, but this particular gym is strictly traditional gym. It's a tough gym.
I love that. I can imagine just these kids showing up and the self-confidence and the like when they find a place to belong.
Yep.
And there's some maybe even pride in being a part of the organization. Do you know what I mean? We're like,
oh yeah, we have a lot of kids that are like, I'm a Fullmer. We give them a little shirt that says Fullmer. They wear it to school. They, so.
And
you guys should sell those. I'd have a stack of them.
We do it at our tournament.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we do.
I'd have a couple Fullmer shirts.
I'll be for one of those,
yeah.
I'll bring one to the gym.
I'll rep it.
I'll bring
I'm
one
extra
to the
small.
You
should go to the
albino
boxing
boy.
gym for a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of these kids. My dad used to say this all the time. It's a great self-confidence booster. These kids, like Ted said, these kids are the most humble. You would think, all the boxers, they're bullies at school. They're absolute opposite. These kids are respectful. They're not there to try to bully someone and hurt. But for some of those kids that need that little boost of self-confidence to know that, hey, I can defend myself.
Most of these bullies are acting out of fear.
Right.
Right. And if you don't have that, you have the self-confidence to know that
we've had a few bullies show up and want to box, and they were humbled, and they're not bullies. They've just turned around and are like, wow, they're whole different people.
Yeah.
Completely different people.
Bullies are mostly the most fearful ones. The people that want that go to fight more quickly are the ones that are fearful. They're the ones that that don't have the confidence to deliver. It's an
Yeah,
amazing thing.
If you're not nervous stepping in there, then something's not right up
Oh,
here.
sure.
If you don't have butterflies when you step
At 1
into
minute,
that
it's a
ring.
long time to box. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
People don't believe you. You know, you get in there and you move around for 1 minute, you're exhausted.
And our elite guys
Forget
are
to
going 3
breathe.
minutes. Our elite boxers are the 3 minute guys.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. I love this. So if I want to get involved, I happen to have $2 million in my back pocket I'm doing nothing with. Like, how can I get involved with this organization to make sure that we can continue this legacy moving forward?
So, I mean, they could reach out to myself. They could reach out to Ted. They could reach out to my cousin Larry. They can go to the FullmerLegacy.org website, and it will give them all the information on how to get involved with it. They can come down and check out the gym any night they want to come down and take a look at it.
The church even comes down. We have
we have youth groups that come down all the
Youth groups
time.
that comes down all the time, and they're a hoot.
Yeah, because they want to get in. They want to get in the ring and
So
test ourselves with each other, and
So our regular boxers get to stand around and watch this show, things not to do.
Of what,
Right.
of what undisciplined looks like.
right.
That's awesome. I love that. And so, and you're a 501c3.
We are.
And so it's completely, it's a donation.
Yep, absolutely. Tax
deductible.
Yep.
And if I were to think, here's the thing: is that as I've grown older, I see a lot of my money going to support others outside my community. This is all local. These are local families that are being benefited. This is a local organization. Yep. This local company supporting you. This is a great way to get involved, knowing that my donation would go 100% to the cause.
Goes 100%.
Yeah. I know a little bit about nonprofits, and I know that there's a lot where 10%, 5% makes it to where the rubber hits
100% goes to them.
100%.
100%.
Nobody on the board, nobody in the family,
Nobody gets paid.
Nobody, the coaches.
Nobody gets paid.
Take us out. I mean, most,
it's powerful.
Pay things out of their own pocket. I know Ted puts a lot out of his own pocket for a lot of these kids.
If I were to, if we were to go back and I was to, here we are, it's 2000, you said 16 when you actually start talking about your own gym. Is that right?
That's right.
2016, if I could go back and or let's say you could go back, Chet, you could go back, Ted, and, put that arm around, like, what advice would you give to those young, optimistic guys? Because this is a hard process you've been through. Like, what would you tell them?
Wow. Better get started 10 years earlier.
Yeah, should have started earlier because, I mean, like I said, these guys have been, and on the Fullmer Legacy Foundation board, they've been meeting weekly, having meeting weekly with the contractors, with the architects. I mean, our architecture, VCBO.
That's right.
They did all of our architecture pretty much pro bono. That's a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
Just to
Some of our subcontractors have put in a lot of free stuff for us and what have you. This building should be probably $14 million.
Wow.
And we got it down to 7. So that's people, the contractors and the subcontractors of, we'll give you this. And
so I mean, there's a lot probably that we've learned over the process that we do differently.
I just want to know one bit of advice. What's that one bit of advice you would give to that younger Ted?
What do you think, Ted?
Well, win the lottery, I guess. It's
I can't get a straight answer out of this guy who's over here. What do you think, Chet? What would you say?
I'd say maybe, I don't know, knowing the right people to reach out to.
And knock on the right doors.
Knock on the right doors.
Knock on the right doors
and knock on more doors.
I mean, we started.
They tell us no. They tell us no.
Yeah.
We started out in Walmart. I was selling stuff in Walmart. When you go out, you see little people, kids sell stuff. We were out there, trying to
turn a buck,
and sell T-shirts, sell this, and had our little boxers out there, and help with. And to see this now that we're having the Eccles Foundation and all that stuff.
I mean, we have our golf tournament that we've had for 19 years, and that's pretty much to keep the gym running.
Operational costs.
And to send the kids to these national tournaments and whatnot.
It costs $60,000 to go
to a national tournament.
One tournament
for
a week.
Holy cow!
To send these kids, and so we're for donations for those sponsorships. we've got a heavyweight and a lightweight and a middleweight championship sponsorships, for $2,500 here. And we thought that was asking a lot. And then we're asking for $7 million. That's a different those are different types of people you're asking that money from.
Yeah, sure.
You're not asking, for $2,500. We're asking for $250,000.
So when you're approaching these those types of people, like what because that would take, that's like a Samson, not Samson. What am I thinking of? That's a giant. David and Goliath. David and Goliath.
Yeah. Well, we have great people on board. We have bankers, and we've had people that step up that for free. That helps us fill out these applications. These applications are huge.
Oh yeah. For grants for those foundations that are
right.
You're in the process. You have to file an application just to be granted the opportunity to file an application for a grant.
So you asked me what I would do. I would definitely get the applications first and see what we got to do first to get the money. It takes months to years to even be qualified.
Yeah. That is true, and oftentimes they'll give you a almost like a gift, like here's $2,500.
Yes,
right.
And then
$10,000.
And we'll take it.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not
happy for it,
not,
but and then you have to kind of like prove like this is what I did with your money. Like you have to foster those relationships and increase that grant.
We have to do that every year with the state of Utah. We have to do an audit process where we show them what we spent, where we spend it.
And they're quite amazed because 100% of it goes back to the kids. They're like, where's your guy? Nobody else gets it? No, all about the kids.
I've talked a lot to others about charity and about the growing an organization, and it's interesting. Some people, it's outside their capacity to understand why. Why would you do that? Why would you work so hard? Why is it so important to you? Because they're all, not all, but there's a lot of people that are just really driven by the destination of success that they define financially or whatever that looks like. And so when they see someone stepping outside of the job, you both have jobs, besides this. And so here you're working full-time supporting your family, and then you what? You're doing what? You're going to spend your time doing you're a special breed.
Well, I think the heroes are our wives, because my wife is
absolutely.
I leave at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I come home and eat dinner at 9, 10 o'clock at night all week long.
And she supports you.
And she supports me traveling. I'm gone. We haven't had a vacation in 10 years, but yet I've gone all over the country and for boxing. So it's she's made a great sacrifice for me.
Yeah. No, that is amazing.
Absolutely.
And I know Kim. She's in.
They all are. I mean, if you go to our state, our regional, our national tournament,
front row,
you can't swing a cat without hitting a Fullmer.
That's right.
Whether it's
that is the truth.
Our wives, daughters,
Kids.
they're selling. They're running the gloves from the glover's table back and forth from the ring. I mean, we're there in the morning setting the ring up, hanging the sponsorship banners. I mean, it's.
Well, everybody knows what their place. Well-oiled machine. It's amazing.
They want to be there.
And I think
no fighting, no bickering. Just they're excited to be there.
And I think that comes back to our parents, our dads, and their wives. My mom, and there's a lot of time that they were gone from the family down there helping other people. But when you see them doing that, and like I said, you know the legacy that they left, and you say that name, and people still remember it. I don't want to see that be gone in 20 years. I want people to still remember who those guys were, because they were salt of the earth type of guys. You'd see those guys in the restaurant, and you wouldn't know
this was a celebrity.
that they were world-class athletes.
Wow. And rub elbows with politicians and movie stars.
When we're holding boxing events, they're the first ones there to help set up the ring, and they're the last ones there tearing it down and folding the chairs away. They didn't put themselves above anybody.
Jay would come in, and he'd come in and bring us squash.
Yeah,
from the garden,
from his
zucchini.
garden. Zucchini.
Trust me, he gave
squash.
a lot of zucchini away.
And we'd go to his house and help him with his garden and all that stuff. He'd come in the gym, his old farmer stuff on, and out there hitting the bag with the kids, showing him how to do it. He's 70 years old. It's my son, when he was dying, we went up to see him and kind of choked him up a little bit. But my boy was. He was his coach, and my boy went up to him, and when he was going through his cancer treatment and what have you, my son lost 6 fights in a row, and came up to him and went up to Jay and grabbed his hand and said, "Coach, when you were my coach, I was 6-0. Now I've lost 6 in a row." And, you know, it just goes to show what kind of coach that Jay was and how we got that extra step out of the kids to fight that fight, to push yourself. And how it affected my son when he was in the hospital and he was dying, that my son just I felt he didn't have it in him to win. You know, where's my coach? You know, even though I was his coach and then Nick was his, you know, coach, but there was no Jay there. You look back and there was no Jay there, so it really affected a lot of the boxers.
Oh yeah, I bet.
You know, I mean, not to talk about a father figure, but he was, you know, a grandpa figure. You
right.
know, that he really.
The patriarch of the whole system.
Absolutely. Yeah, oh, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you'd walk in that, you know, and he's talking about them hitting the bag. There was 70-plus-year-old guys in there. They're hitting the bag. I wouldn't have stepped in front of the middle.
Still dropping the bombs.
They could still hit it. They could still hit it with the best of them.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those kids that decided, hey,
Now's my time.
I'm big enough to take my dad on.
Yeah.
I never.
They go around and tell
Never
these kids,
doubted
hit me in the stomach. And you got these kids that are 15, 16, early kids, you know,
Yeah.
just wailing on these 70-year-old men. And what?
Wow.
Wouldn't budge them.
Tough.
Uncle Gene's favorite comment was, "If you can make me burp, fart, or grunt, I'll pay you $50." And then when they did, and it was always, "Oh, what? Did you have polio when you were a kid?" You know, that was always one of the go-tos. But
Oh man.
yeah, so those guys are really the reason we keep doing it.
Well, let's do a little deep dive because you guys can speak to this. I'm from a baseball background, and baseball to me is it's one of the best life lesson teachers of any sport around because the whole game is centered around failure. What makes boxing such a good teacher from taking young troubled youths into, like you said, you take them in, they have successful businesses now?
Great
Well,
question.
it's self-discipline. You know, you come from it's a team. You know, you're looking at football as a team. All that. Boxing is an individual. First and foremost, is an individual sport. You might have your team around you, but you step in there like the pitcher's mound. I would say by himself. You win or lose. Catcher, I catch, I win or lose. The boxing, same thing. There's self-discipline that they have, that they need to have, and the self-confidence that they need to have. That we build up into them to step into that ring. Like Chet was saying, you lose half your nerve, half your energy when you step in that ring. That's you know, in football you got your buddies to hang, and you blame your buddies or blame hey, he fumbled the football, that's why we lost. It's all you. And so in life, it's all you in life. Right. You're gonna fail, it's all you. Can't pay the mortgage, it's on you. It's not your teammate, it's on you. Boxing's just like that. Let's step in that ring. Win, lose, or draw. I fall. It's not how I fall. It's how I stand up for the next one. So that's exactly what we teach in there, and every one of them do it.
I mean, it's cliche, that old Rocky, you know, the Rocky quote. You know, it's not how hard you can get hit, but how hard you can get hit, and then keep moving forward. Yeah. And same thing. I mean, we got kids at the gym that. I mean, there's a couple of kids at the gym I haven't seen win a fight in a long time, but they keep getting in there. And they're never going to be, you know, my up in the gym. There's a picture there's a picture of the three brothers, and there's a quote my dad gave before he passed away, and it was, you know, we're not saying that all these kids are going to be world champions. Probably never will be, but if they keep coming down and they keep trying and they keep working on this, I'm ad-libbing a little bit, but
guaranteed they'll be better citizens.
Guaranteed they'll be better citizens, and that's all we can hope for.
Amen.
And that's really what it's about, right? Well,
there's only one champion.
That's it.
You know, there's only one guy.
Yeah.
And it can't be everybody.
No.
But there's a lot of life lessons that come in just the pursuit of, like you said, just step in the ring one time.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to learn a lot about yourself.
A whole lot, yeah. I mean, you see a lot of kids who get in my dad used to have a saying sometimes you'd see a kid get in the ring to spar or something, or even once he got a fight, and he wasn't very good. Maybe he'd always joke and he's like, yeah, maybe you ought to take up checkers, you know? But you know what? If that kid had the guts to step in there one time, that's more guts than a lot of kids have.
And I feel we've done our job. If I get a kid that wants to fight, step on that ring, hey, I've done a good job. This kid's willing to take on life, willing to say, hey, he's got like 300 or 400 strangers staring at him. He's going to face an opponent that he's never seen before. He's going to fight this kid. That's a lot to say for an 8-year-old, even to, a 17-year-old kid.
When you guys do your state, I'd love to come and be a part of that. That sounds like a kick in the pants.
And we have, there's bouts that happen all over
we have
valley.
fights all over. I'm the vice president of USA Boxing, and we have fights coming up all over. I'll tell Chet, and Chet's actually, he's one of our officials, and he officiates and gets in the ring and all that stuff and helps. So he doesn't say, he doesn't toot his horn enough either. So he's out there on the fights, donating his time, officiating, getting in the ring. So does Larry. They even out throughout the whole year. Larry will travel to Idaho and help out there as well as I will.
And we have guys like that all over the state. That aren't maybe affiliated with our gym. That are donating their time as officials because they see the same thing. They see what these kids. There's some boxing gyms. I don't know how many that are like ours that don't charge. The majority of them charge.
Even the free ones charge. I'm sorry. Yeah. Even the free ones charge. Yeah. We don't. They'll charge $10 or $15 or whatever. We charge nothing.
Yeah, and so, cool. But a lot of these guys are donating their time as an official or something like that. But they see the benefit of it and what it does.
And officials don't get paid either.
No. Yeah, that's
wow.
That's all.
It's a wonderful vision. It's a wonderful future that we have ahead. Now, you have programs that you're going to be doing within the new facility to help, of course, pay the bills, keep the lights on, and things like that. You were telling me a little bit about that.
Rock Steady.
Steady.
Well, a few years ago, about 3-4 years ago, we were in the process of building this building. We wanted to, bring something to help people with old timers or disease and dementia. There's a program that was started, I think, in Florida. Now, Legends has a program like this, but we wanted to do it ourselves. So we flew out to Florida and spent a week or two down there going through their program so we can bring it back home and teach it here and offer it here for people. That Rock Steady, it's for people that, any ages that has dementia. And it teaches your hands and feet like boxing to work together. And it's give them gloves, they hit the bag. It's a great program. That's one of the programs that will be paid through insurance that will help us keep the lights on, to help other kids come in and do for free. So that's one of the programs we have. We did hire a director that will probably rent out some spaces. We have to do like a little dance studio upstairs. Maybe rent that out during the day or what have you. We're gonna have state-of-the-art weight room, a state-of-the-art running track. This is the state-of-the-art gym. I mean, not one like it in the state of Utah. I don't think not one like it in our region.
Wow.
So
it's going to be pretty impressive, especially coming from where we've come from.
Right.
From, out on the back lawn.
Yeah.
Stepping in a hole and twisting your ankles.
Most boxing gyms are like almost falling over, and like you said, they smell like sweat.
Oh yeah. Well, we even have a doctor's office in there. Our doctor, Dr. Murdoch, he's our volunteer. He's our team doctor. He's a surgeon that works for Riverton Hospital. We built him a doctor's office so none of our kids pay for physicals.
Wow.
Comes in and
handles it all.
Handles it all for us.
Man.
Yeah, so it's going to be state of the art type of facility, and then, like I said, we'll have to have other courses to be able to keep it operating for operational costs, and like I said, they may be just get in shape courses throughout the day, or personal trainers will rent out some space to them and they can go out and get their own clientele and they'll rent that space from us for so much a month or whatever, and they'll bring their own clientele in. They'll
teach yoga upstairs, teach whatever.
Yeah,
right,
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
amazing.
Keep it going. And then, then at night, our kids will come in and we'll be our boxing gym.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if our kids come in like during the day or something and if it's open and if they belong to our gym, they want to run, it's free.
They want to lift or
something.
They want to lift,
it's free. Not just from 6 o'clock on. It'll be free for our kids that are boxing for us.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some of the best listeners on the planet. These guys, we've got some great support and just a tremendous base of good people that watch our podcast. And so I'm going to reach out to you and say, if you want to get involved, get involved. It doesn't have to be with the Fullmers, but get involved. If you're going to do something, this is a great organization to do it with. Life is more than going to work and making a living. Life is about service. Life is about creating opportunities for others. And that creates fulfillment. And in that creation of fulfillment, ladies and gentlemen, is the legacy that we're talking about today. And so grateful you guys could be on the show. Grateful that you could
glad you had us.
come and tell the story. But let me just do a shout out. If you have if you got $2 million in your back pocket,
or if you know somebody,
or if you know someone,
or if you want to come and watch some fights, I would imagine come down and let's check this out.
Whatever you can do.
Our Facebook page, we've got a Rocky Mountain Golden Gloves Facebook and Instagram. We got a Fullmer Brothers Boxing Gym Facebook.
All these links will be available in the comments below. Click on those links and support these good gentlemen in helping them change the world one kiddo at a time. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.